This year on February, with it being spooky month, you watch lots of spooky movies. And there's one film I watch every spooky month without fail: The Nightmare Before Christmas. Directed by Henry Selick, not Tim Burton despite popular belief. We'll get more on that later. Written by Caroline Thompson, starring Chris Sarandon, Danny Elfman, and Catherine O'Hara to name a few. It made $15 million at a budget of $18 million, and has great reviews. In the early 80s, when Tim Burton was working as an animator for Disney, he saw Christmas stuff already being put up before Halloween was even over. This gave him the idea for Nightmare Before Christmas. He originally envisioned Nightmare to be a TV special that'd be narrated by Vincent Price. Disney was at first interested and started developing it, but eventually shut it down, as they felt it was too weird for their company, and they went on to fire Burton in 1984. But of course, Tim Burton went on to make Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, and Batman. In 1990, Burton found out that Disney actually still held the rights to Nightmare. He got in contact with Henry Selick, and they went to Disney, who were now willing to develop out the film that the Burton had a few successes under his belt. But at the time, Burton was directing Batman Returns. It was in pre-production on Ed Wood. So since he couldn't direct the film, he gave directing duties to Henry Selick, and writing duties to Caroline Thompson, who had also written Edward Scissorhands, and would go on to write Corpse Bride. Though even though Nightmare is one of Disney's powerhouses, everybody knows that you could escape it if you wanted to, but when Nightmare originally released, it did decently, but not amazingly. But it didn't make much of a splash. Definitely not enough to make Disney take a second look. But in a really impressive feat, Nightmare in less than a decade gained a massive cult following. By the early 2000s, Nightmare was very popular, and that popularity has only grown with time, as now Nightmare is probably one of Disney's most important IPs. And of course, this film was great and one of my favorites. It's in my top 15 favorite films. It's the only film I watch every single October. For one, it's such an impressive film. A lot of people forget, this was the first film made fully with stop motion. Of course, stop motion had been in films since pretty much its beginning, but it was always implemented with live action, like with the Sinbad movies, Chasing the Argonauts, King Kong. The closest thing made before this was TV specials like Rudolph. So this really opened the door for full-length feature stop motion films. Now, of course, this film has great stop motion, but it is a little choppy. Still great, but not as smooth as films we get later on, like Corpse Bride, Coraline, Frankenweenie, etc. But it does give a nice cozy novelty feel to it. This film has great cinematography, so many iconic and beautiful shots. And this film's characters, they're actually not as well rounded as you would think. In fact, they're kind of one note, but not in a bad way. Their character traits and motivations are clear. Their wants and desires are on full display, but they're still engaging and enduring. Jack Skellington is honestly a super relatable character, longing for something more, getting burnt out with the same old, and it's such a fantastic design. It's really like conveying emotions without having any eyeballs, which Disney actually wanted Jack to have because they thought he would scare kids, even though that would have 100% been scarier. And of course, it's voiced by Chris Sarandon and Danny Elfman, which, yeah, not everybody knows that. Chris Sarandon did Jack's speaking voice, while Danny Elfman did Jack's singing voice. And it's honestly fairly seamless. You're really only going to notice if you're actively looking for it.
Yeah, I guess so. Just like last year, and the year before that.
There are few who deny it. What I do, I am the best.
Oogie Boogie, while yes, is a villain in a story that doesn't really need a villain, is still a pretty darn good villain. He's really intimidating, a lovely design, great voice acted by Ken Page, has one of the best villain songs, period. And despite not getting a lot of Jack and Oogie's rivalry, it really is felt. The way they speak about one another, how they interact with each other, makes it feel like these guys have a long history with one another and really cannot stand each other.
Hello, Oogie.
And then we get to Sally, which, don't get me wrong, I do really like. A really nice design, it isn't a bad character by any means, but it really is the weakest part of the film. Most of her is just slipping over Jack, which, while yes is understandable, still, besides the random vision she has that never gets explained or comes up again, she's just kind of there to be a little bit just for Jack. And speaking of that, the relationship between Jack and Sally, while yes is cute, really wasn't built up very well. But again, I do like the character of Sally. I also do like towards the middle of the film it does have a teeny tiny bit of pacing problems. It does start to feel like it's going a bit too fast, but does pretty quickly get back on track. But maybe it's just because I've seen it so many times. And of course, the songs are fantastic. Danny Elfman has so much fantastic work, and this might be his most fantastic. They flow so well and are so catchy. Such a good way exposition is given. They move the story along in a fun, efficient way. I also like the message this film has. It's pretty simple, but it's still pretty effective. Being grateful for what you have. Usually messages in films, especially animated films, are big and grand. But Nightmares is really realistic and very mature. But overall, I love this film. It's one of my favorites. It's a classic. It's Nightmare Before Christmas. Also, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribing. Bye, guys, for now. Bye, Thacker.